Hey everyone, welcome to this week's edition of the Cutting Room Floor, where I just take a few minutes to share a little bit of Bible and practical teaching that we didn't get a chance to share and talk about on Sunday. And so this last weekend introduced our brand new series, talking about how to be strong amid the pressures that we face in life, at home, at work, wherever we may be. We had like 67 responses come in on Sunday of people saying, "Hey, this is the pressure that I'm feeling," and so we're recognizing this is real. People are feeling it. I hope you're doing well in making your list of all those "I need to" statements that run through your mind. And let me encourage you, more than just like the to-do list of things that I need to. Let it include everything, everything. Every time you see that thought, even when it, like for instance, when it comes to food, um, I need to is more than just like I need to cook dinner for my family, but it's the I need to drink more water, I need to drink less soda, I need to eat fewer carbs, I need to eat more fruits and vegetables. All those I need to that aren't even really to-do list, but they're pressures that we feel from somewhere. And then um, like I suggested, take the list and ask says who for every one of those, and come back next week with some insights, and we're going to continue the conversation. So let me just talk about these wisdom books for a moment, right? So in the Bible, right after Psalms, you've got Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon. And the introduction to each of them um, references Solomon, the son of King David, the king who asked for wisdom. And so these are a collection of his writings and teachings about wisdom. Um, Song of Solomon is about love, marriage, men and women, and kind of wisdom that is related there. But let's look at and think about Proverbs and Ecclesiastes and how these two books go together. Because Proverbs is a popular book because it is filled, 31 chapters of two-line statements of wisdom teachings. Wisdom to a young man. In fact, in the first chapter, it says, "Hey, my son, let me teach you wisdom." And so, one of the ways to think about the book of Proverbs is that it is someone who has wisdom and someone who has learned wisdom over a lifetime, teaching that wisdom and sharing that wisdom with the next generation so that they make good decisions and they learn from the wisdom and even the mistakes of others so that they don't have to make those mistakes themselves, because it's always better to learn from someone else's mistakes than to learn from your own mistakes. That's what the book of Proverbs is. One of the ways we need to think about the book of Proverbs is that they are proverbs, not promises. That is not to say that the Bible isn't completely true, but we can't take something that was never intended to be a promise, an absolute promise of how things are going to work out every single time, and turn it into that if it wasn't intended to be that. And as we read the book of Proverbs, we read these two-line statements that are proverbs, not promises. Here's one example. Proverbs 14:23 says, "All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty." Now, if that is intended to be an absolute promise, that means that every single time you work hard at something, it will bring a profit. And already you can think of plenty of times you worked hard and it didn't bring a profit. Um, that is because it's not intended to be a promise, it's a proverb. A proverb that says, that really gives us the truth that if you want to get ahead, it's not just by talking, but it's by working. And that if you're going to start a business, if you're going to start a job, you're going to have to work hard more than just sit around, talk, and chit chat. Even salespeople who do their work by building relationships and talking and using their words and talking to try to convince themselves, the best salespeople recognize that sales is hard work and you have to work at it, not just talk. And so the statement is true because 9 times out of 10, it works out this way, that you work hard, you'll bring a profit. If you just rely on work, just rely on talk, not going to happen. But there is that one time out of 10 where it doesn't work out, right? So wisdom says, choose this way. Choose hard work over just sitting around talking. That's wisdom. And if you were mentoring a young person, you would tell them this is the wise way if you want what you do to be profitable and to bring a profit. That's the book of Proverbs, right? And so the book of Proverbs has these wise sayings about all kinds of different topics: parenting, work, how to treat the poor and the powerless, the power of your words to hurt people and help people, humility, lots of like practical life application that doesn't always seem very spiritual, but it's like this is just the best way to live in life. What about that one time out of 10 when it doesn't work out? What about that one time out of 10 when you work really hard, but to no fault of your own, you not only don't make a profit, but you lose your company and everything you worked for? And even it feels like then there's the combination punch that then people are mad at you and people slander you and they speak, to tell lies about you and malign your character, right? And just everything seems to be going wrong. Like sometimes life just doesn't work out the way you have planned. What then? Does that mean that the Proverbs were all false? No, no, no. At that point, we get the book of Ecclesiastes. The book of Ecclesiastes is an honest approach about life that counterbalances the whole truth of the Proverbs. It's like the flip side of the coin. It's like, how do I handle the one time out of 10 when it didn't work out like the Proverbs said that it would work out? Now, yeah, it's fair to ask the question though, like, why is the book of Ecclesiastes so extreme then, right? I mean, it says like everything is meaningless, everything's a vapor chasing after the wind. It's more than just to get our attention. It is because that's just kind of how um, it's how we feel the weight of negative experiences. In fact, researchers have discovered that we feel the weight of negative experiences more than we feel the happiness of positive experiences. So, for instance, there was a research study about this, and researchers showed a group of participants 33 images. Some of those pictures were happy, clowns and puppies and things like that. Some of them were neutral, a spoon or a plate, nothing. Some of them were some of them were negative, like an aggressive face. One had a picture of a gun pointed at the person. And then they registered their brain activity and how their brains responded to each of the images. And here's what they discovered: that their brains responded far more to the negative images even than they responded to the positive images. They responded more to the positive images than to the neutral images, for sure, but responded the most to the negative images, almost in a self-protective kind of way. But I mean, think about it. It makes sense. Think about this. Think about this. Think about your car, okay? We all have like our dream car, the car we would love to have. If someone gave you your dream car that you would love to have, you would be happy. You would be excited. You would appreciate it. It would be fun and amazing. You would feel something. You'd feel a lot of positive emotions. But if someone tomorrow morning you woke up and discovered that someone had stolen your car, even if your car is an old junker that barely gets you to work, if someone steals your car, even your credit car, you're going to feel the heaviness and the weight of that more than you're going to feel the happiness of getting your dream car. Why? Because you have to walk to work. When you get the dream car, you have two options for how you're going to get to work, and it's fun, but even the excitement of that doesn't match the intensity of the feeling of having your one car taken from you. It's just part of how it works. And so, Book of Ecclesiastes is this honest, authentic, and genuine look at the pain of life. When life doesn't go as we had planned, it's hard. How do we deal with that? And so I like to think of it as we have the book of Proverbs and the book of Ecclesiastes, and they go together. And wisdom says, read them together because they can describe how you should live life and how to cope when life doesn't go well. It's almost like the book of Proverbs is good news truth that feels good, and The book of Ecclesiastes is the bad news truth that's still true, that doesn't feel good, but we've got to own it. Otherwise, if all we do is pretend that life is always good and wonderful, we're not quite being honest with ourselves or God. And the result when you put the two of those together is reality. Here's one more reason that they should be put together. Here's something that I just discovered even last week, right? So Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7, we discover that Proverbs is more than just about these practical topics of family and parenting and marriage and the practical topics that it speaks of. It doesn't always seem very spiritual, but look what we discover in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7. The introduction, right? Says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And so if you really want to be wise and live with wisdom, it will include and will start with fearing the Lord in a good, healthy kind of a fear, surrendering to the Lord and saying, Lord, I need wisdom, because left to myself, I can't do it all on my own. God, would you teach me wisdom? When you have that mindset, Solomon says, keep reading the rest of the book. Okay, so we read all through the book of Proverbs, we read all through the book of Ecclesiastes, and here's why I believe they're meant to go together. Is we get to the end of the book of Ecclesiastes, okay? And if they're meant to go together, what's the conclusion to the book? Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. We read this in church on Sunday. Now, all has been heard. Here's the conclusion of the matter. The conclusion is, fear God and keep his commandments. The introduction says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The last word, second to the last verse, says, the conclusion of the matter is, fear God. And if you begin by fearing God, and you end by fearing God, and all of the middle is seeking the wisdom of God and the truth of God and surrendering to God, being honest about even the bad times and hard times, they go together. And faith, let me leave you with this, is facing the good times and the bad times with a deep trust in God. Good times and bad times. The deep, surrendered life, trusting in God, listening to all the wisdom that he has for us in spiritual matters and in very practical matters of living life as well. I hope this has been helpful to you today. Continue on in your pursuit of wisdom. God loves to give people wisdom when we ask and when we let him teach us. Join us this next weekend, and we're going to keep the conversation going, and we're going to take the next step in learning how to be strong when we feel so weak under pressure. Have a great rest of your week.